Going to work on a Friday. It's Food Truck Friday at school. There's a bunch of food trucks there. I love it, Food Truck Friday, man. That's so cool. All right, let's fix this thing. Woo-woo. Hi, and thanks for tuning in. This is the Learn with John Eick podcast. Man, I got all my favorite brands represented in a little video here on the YouTubies. I got a little Cap Q. Love those folks, man. A little professional learning network here in Northern California in the capital region. Got my little shirt on for Friday, going to school. It is day 26 on my 180-day drive to the place where I work and love. It's school day, man. It's a school day. It's Friday, and I got a great little suggestion from Amanda Sandberg, who reached out to me. She's listening to the pod. She says, "Hey John, I listened to this other podcast by this guy Jim Knight. You got to riff on this thing that Jim Knight's riffing on." And I was like, mind blown. Hey, love me some Jim Knight. I don't know if you out there in the podcast sphere or on the YouTubies are like digging on Jim Knight. He's super old like me. I mean, maybe he's older than me, which makes him old. But the deal is, like, Jim Knight, I think, is the dude who more or less kind of invented the whole idea of instructional coaching, or at least like the academic term of it. Somewhere in the infancy of we birthed this thing called instructional coaching. Jim Knight was at the forefront of it. Got a PhD, big brain, all kinds of books. Guy's great, right? Well, Sandberg sends me this podcast, goes, "Hey, this dude's riffing not on instructional coaching from a methodological standpoint or paradigmatic or like a pedagogical standpoint. This dude's saying, hey, post-pandemic, Jim, you're the instructional coach guy. How can we make all of our teachers better teachers?" And he's like, first of all, quit acting like they're not already awesome. And I was like, oh, I love this guy already. And actually, he was riffing on the podcast. Oh man, I should go look at the podcast with somebody from NWA who do the MAP testing, who acknowledged, hey, actually, you know what? National normed reference testing shows that like our teachers are crushing it in this pandemic and post-pandemic phase, and that our kids are actually doing really well and are on a bit of a rebound. And that don't happen, just randomly. That happens because our teachers are killing it. And so Jim Knight says, like, hey, you want to coach teachers, you want to make instructional time more powerful and beneficial to students, you want to see student growth happen, what should you do in 2022? Well, here it comes, people. On day 26, here comes the nugget. Invest in the social, emotional health of your, wait for it, your staff. Yes, take care of students, of course. That's why we're here. Check the box. Everybody look at the 28 to 32 kids in front of you and be like, yeah, of course that's why we're here. We're here for kids. But like, you don't go to the Ford factory and just look at the cars that you produce and be like, that's why we're here. Just look at the cars. We built the cars. We put the tires on them, and they're awesome. No, you got to look at the manufacturing plant and be like, hey, this machine that builds those cars needs lots of TLC, right? Because if the machine breaks down, well, then the cars ain't gonna get built. Well, check it out. There's not a lot of machine in EDU. That like we don't have a robotic workforce or a factory assembly line in EDU. We have people, and our people are what we would call, let's call them educators, right? And educators, if they are the means to production, if they are the machine that produces this thing that we think is the most important thing, which is these children, then we need to pour into that machine. Now, Jim Knight, super big brain. Me, very small. I'm just driving, right? I'm just in my car riffing. Jim Knight says, okay. He had 4 things. I'll probably remember 2 of them, so I'll try my best. But he's like, hey, more or less, he says people, teachers and educators need to be seen. He says they need to be seen as competent. Like, hey, we're not here to micromanage you. You're a professional educator with a bachelor's degree, a credential, probably an advanced degree, and years of experience. Who am I to come and micromanage you? We need to see you as competent, which I think is typically missing in this industry in general, because I think people get into like leadership positions and instead of leading, they try to manage. Or we could talk about leadership versus management, but like this whole idea of like, I'm going to micromanage, or I'm going to like script every move. You can't do that to professionals. You can't do that, especially I think You should never do that to an educator, because education is part science, part art, and you can't micromanage art nor science. Both of those have their own pathway, and that's for probably another riff. But teachers need to be acknowledged as competent. Check. Every opportunity that we have, we should do that to pour into these educators' social emotional well-being, so that they can feel like, yeah, I got this. Yep. Are there going to be hard days? Check. Is it a hard job? Check. Is it harder now than ever before? Check, check, check. But is it like, is it helpful to acknowledge the competence of the people in the seat driving the ship? Yes. So I think one of the things we've lost there is, yes, I think there's administrative structures at play there. There's the dichotomy between labor and management, and there's negotiated bargaining agreements. Those things gunk up the system, between created the us versus them. But you know what? Colleagues used to pour into colleagues, and families always poured into the teachers and made them feel competent. And I feel like in the world today, in 2022, with the social medias and all the New York Times articles or whatnot blasting educators is not doing a great job, I think that is really harming the industry, and that's out of our control. So hey, what can we control? What can we influence? Those are our concepts, right? So let's not go down that rabbit hole, but like every time you get an opportunity to acknowledge some educator and make them feel or make them be seen as competent, totally important. Another, and I told you I was looking to remember two. I wish I could remember all four, but the other one that really resonated with me was agency. Right? I've got this whole concept for my dissertation around ensuring that staff members have the flexibility to innovate, because if you have the flexibility to innovate, that means you're actually given agency over your own domain of influence. And so if you're a teacher or if you're an administrator, that you have the flexibility to innovate, to solve problems at the local level. And Jim Knight talks about agency. Like he says that in like educators have less agency than other professional classes, and again, we're always comparing ourselves to nurses or doctors or lawyers or whatnot, but educators have less agency typically over their own domain, and less now theoretically than ever before. And I think it's really important. I think it's really important that we look to our educators and say, hey, you are seen, you are appreciated and loved. I think that's a starting point. Then you say, hey, you are competent, you have skills, you have resources, you have professional expertise, and we see your competence, and we acknowledge your competence, and we appreciate your competence. And then like the last is, because of all that, because we love you, because we see you, because we acknowledge you, because we see your competence and acknowledge your competence, we grant you agency. Like you are a professional. Nobody's gonna micromanage this domain, this space that is, your professional workspace with your children. Yeah, should there be guardrails, and should there be like, hey, what's expected, and what are we trying to address? Yeah, that's a local decision. You and your team, or you and your school say, hey, what are our initiatives? What are we working on? But giving flexibility to innovate and agency to the staff who we ask to do this really hard job is critical. So I think, starting with, hey, you're seen and you're loved. Look, go look at your test score. I hate test scores. Go look at your measurements, whatever that is, academic, social, emotional, and recognize that, like, hey, in 2022, teachers are kind of killing it. Like, we're on the rebound. We're actually having a great comeback moment right now of like, okay, learning loss was real. We attacked it last year, but we had Omicron, and we had behavior, and we had all these things that were way more challenging than we expected them to be on the comeback. But in 22, 23, I think we're starting to like see a glimmer of like, okay, no, we got this. And this is the perfect time. This is the moment to double down on the things that Jim Knight's talking about, to say, hey, I see you, I trust you, I believe in you, you have great competence, right? And you have agency. Go with it, run with it, do your thing. I'm gonna get out of your way. You let me know what supports you need. All right, there it is. That's a little riff on like, Jim Knight's approach to like how to pour into staff in this particular time. What should we be doing from an instructional coaching model? It's not about pedagogies and methodologies, but it's about pouring into our staff and making them feel seen, appreciated, understood, and offering them agency. All right, that's it. It's day 26. I'm heading in on Friday. It's Food Truck Friday at the high school, which is so epic. Like, we bring in all these food trucks. The kids get to, like, eat all this crazy food. Like, we only do it a couple times a year, but it is awesome. So I'm going to be heading over to the high school for the Food Truck Friday. I'll tell you how the food was, when I catch up with you on Monday. It is a good day to be me. I hope it's a great day to be you. You go on into a place where you go and do what you do on a Friday and just, enjoy it. It is day 26. I hope your day 26 is epic. All right, my name is John Eick. You can find me on the Twitters at John_Eick. You can find me, out there on the YouTubes now, on the Twitters, and then you can go to my website at learnwithjohneick.com. Today's riff was brought to you by a listener who I think is amazing, Amanda Sandberg. Thank you for reaching out. And hey, let's have the next riff be about something you're thinking about. If you're out there listening, and know you are, if you're listening, you drop me a nugget. Tell me what you want me to riff on. I will riff on something that is bubbling in your brain basket, and we'll see if we can't put our two brains together. All right, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.